Hill conspiracy began just before midnight on October 3rd, when court records say he stole a Hyundai Accent left unattended and running by a food delivery worker on the 6600 block of Sprague. Investigators say he used that stolen car to meet up with Kada Scott the following night. Charging documents say Scott and King made plans to meet up, with the final exchange between the two being, quote, CM when you hear. CM is short for call me. 6 minutes later at 10:15 p.m., investigators say the two appeared to be together near Scott's place of employment.
What's up, gang, and welcome back to another episode of 99 Flames. Today, we'll be covering Kada Scott. Let's get into it. Kada Scott, a 23-year-old Philadelphia woman, was murdered in October 2025 after disappearing during an overnight shift in Chestnut Hill. Her body was found in a Germantown shallow grave, and the suspect, Keon King, 21, faces murder, kidnapping, and arson charges. The investigation continues into potential accomplices. So the disappearance and discovery. Kada Scott was last seen leaving her job October the 4th, 2025. Her body was discovered October 18, 2025, near the former Ada Lewis Middle School. The suspect, Keon King, 21, was arrested on October the 15th, 2025, and his bail is being held. He is charged with murder, kidnapping, and related offenses. The case details. Evidence include a torch car, a phone data linking King to the crime, and Scott died of a gunshot wound to the head. This right here had the city in an uproar. Everybody was wondering where this little girl was at. This young lady was missing. I mean, we don't get into these news clips, and I continue to pray for our family.
Disappearance of a 23-year-old woman from Philadelphia who has not been seen since Saturday. CBS Philadelphia's Ray Strickland spoke with the family of Kada Scott and police about the latest on their search for her whereabouts.
That's what I feel, that she's not safe, and that's the problem.
Kevin Scott and Kim Matthews want you to take a good look at this photo. It's of their 23-year-old daughter, Kada Scott, who hasn't been seen by family since October 4th.
Last few days been crazy, head spinning, trying to figure out what's going on.
Scott's family reported her missing the day after she didn't return home from an overnight shift at an assisted living facility in Chestnut Hill. Philadelphia police say Scott's co-workers told them that she did show up to work that night, but left before her shift ended. Captain John Craig says what makes that concerning is that Scott didn't leave in her car and that her phone is now currently off.
You have a 23-year-old young lady who has completely disappeared. We have no cell phone activity or social media activity, and she's not reached out to family or friends.
Police have since recovered the car Scott used to drive to work, hoping to collect evidence that can connect them to her whereabouts. Detectives also are investigating a possible lead about Scott being harassed before she went missing.
Harassed, threatened, so we're a little concerned because she didn't tell us, of course, but her friends, and she did mention it to them, but didn't give any names, names or anything like that, so we're trying to piece everything together to find out exactly who these people are.
The family is now praying for Scott's safe return, putting up these missing persons flyers in hopes someone can help police in the investigation.
A car connected to the disappearance of 23-year-old Kada Scott has been located in Philadelphia's East Falls neighborhood.
Chopper 6 is live over the Gypsy Lane condos in East Falls, where the 1999 gold Toyota Camry was found this afternoon. It was just this morning that police said they were searching for that car as part of the investigation.
Well, that car was found just hours after police said they found personal items belonging to Scott at an abandoned school building in East Mount Airy. Let's go live now to Philadelphia police, who are giving an update on the car that was found.
Any reason that the information on the car was held back until today? You were tracking it around the city, and the information comes in today, and we have a car a couple hours later.
Again, it was the public's help. Okay, we suspected that car was attached to Mr. King. We had to gather the evidence enough to actually go look for the vehicle.
How long were police tracking this car?
I'm not going to get into that.
Morning, police investigating this video showing who they believe to be Keon King. The suspect connected to the disappearance of 23-year-old nursing assistant Kada Scott, a man seen peeking through the window from outside in the yard. It's unclear when or where this video was taken. Now, the race against time to find Scott, who police say vanished mid-shift while working at this assisted living facility in Philadelphia nearly 2 weeks ago.
We need to find Miss Scott, figure.
A tip that came in last night through the night. Investigators began the process of following up on that tip this morning, starting around 10 o'clock this morning, following up on that tip. And the tip was very specific that led us back to this location here today. What you all know, we were out here earlier in the week doing a little bit of a search. And so based on the investigative information, based on the investigation and what they were following up on that tip today, led us back to this area behind the school, where it's a wooded area. I don't know if any of you have been back there, but it's a wooded area that goes beyond the school. And so we begin to go back into that area where we will locate a shallow grave after being able to remove some of the debris back there, able to locate the body of a human being. All indications at this point is that it's a female. We are not going to confirm at this point that it is Miss Kada Scott, because that has to be done by the medical examiner's office. But we have been in communication with her family as to this process and the fact that we have recovered.
East Germantown, if you've been following the Kada Scott investigation, today is 2 weeks since she went missing, and we are back here at Ada Lewis Middle School, which has been abandoned for over a decade, and we got the update from police that they found human remains belonging to a female. They say these remains have only been here no longer than a week. Obviously, heartbreaking news for a lot of people to hear. And while police are not confirming that this is Kada Scott, they are obviously acknowledging the high possibility. And police say now the medical examiner will need to confirm who this person is, the remains, who they belong to, and everything will kind of go according.
Sad to say that when reports came out later on, that was indeed Kada Scott's body that was found behind the school in the shallow grave. And then now investigators know that for sure they got a homicide on their hands. Not only that, it was later identified that Keon King was the one who was responsible for Kada's disappearance, murder, and everything else. So we're gonna get into these news reports. This is real sad, y'all.
Philadelphia medical examiners released the exact cause of death for a Philadelphia woman who first went missing back on October 4th. Authorities say 23-year-old Kada Scott was killed by a gunshot wound to the head. Her body was found 2 weeks after she vanished in a shallow grave behind the vacant Ada Lewis Middle School. The 21-year-old suspect, taken into custody, now faces murder charges. Action News reporter Kada Scott now with the latest.
21-year-old Keon King charged with the murder of 23-year-old Kada Scott, and he faces additional counts, including abuse of corpse and robbery. Last night, church pews filled at a community meeting in East Mount Airy.
We continue to pursue anyone who helped, who concealed, who participated in this act. We will not stop.
Court documents reveal that on October 4th, Scott and King exchanged text messages, including Scott texting, "Kidnap me again," to which the subject replied, "Better be up too." That night, police say King called Scott 12 times within about 45 minutes. Shortly after, he picked up Scott from her job at the assisted living facility in Chestnut Hill in a stolen Hyundai. Minutes later, Scott's phone went offline, and the stolen car remained parked at Albury Recreation Center for more than 2 days. Near the area, Scott's remains were eventually found. Investigators say the night of October 5th, King's registered Toyota was at the rec center on camera, with 2 people seen taking a large object consistent with a body out of the Hyundai. Scott's remains were found on October 18th in a shallow grave in the wooded area behind the vacant Ada Lewis Middle School, right near the rec center.
From Keon King's lawyer. King is the man accused of killing 23-year-old Kada Scott and burying her in a shallow grave in the woods behind Ada Lewis Middle School. Tonight, the community is coming together to honor Scott again, whose remains were discovered last week. Jen?
Dawn, the community started gathering about half an hour ago here at Ada Lewis Middle School. You can hear some loud music here. There is a DJ for this event, and people were asked to bring blue or brown balloons in honor of Kada Scott. Now, you mentioned Keon King's lawyer, Shaka Johnson. He has been facing criticism in recent days for representing King. He went on a radio interview today to defend himself.
Online petitions to have me removed from the case because they don't want me representing this gentleman.
Criminal defense lawyer Shaka Johnson spoke with WDAS-FM host Frankie Darcell this afternoon on the Kada Scott case. He's representing the accused, Keon King.
I listen for God's voice when I am deciding whether to take a case. Is that what you did here? Most definitely.
King, only 21 years old, was...
Prosecutors laid out evidence that they say they have against the man accused of kidnapping and murdering 23-year-old Kada Scott last year.
Keon King was held for trial on all charges. Joe Holden was in the courtroom and joins us now. Joe, good evening.
Yuki, Natasha, and that is the big development. Prosecutors showing they have enough evidence in the charges that they've brought to move this on to trial. Now, Keon King, it is the first time we've seen him since he was taken into custody some 4 months ago, and his appearance is somewhat different. Gone is the long hair. He is now clean cut. There was very little emotion when he entered the courtroom at room number 306 on the 3rd floor of the Criminal Justice Center. People just looking as testimony flowed for about 5 hours inside that courtroom. You'll remember this frantic search for Kada Scott grabbed national attention. Prosecutors in court called the search for Kada Scott both harrowing and difficult as the days dragged on. One former co-worker testified the night of Scott's disappearance on October 4th. She had last been seen on the phone. She was upset. She left her place of work, and that is when investigators say would be the last time she was seen alive. Cell phone records and data shown by police revealed Scott and King had met up and then traveled together. Police say Kada's phone then goes off network a short time later. Days after her disappearance, police conducted massive searches. They would eventually end up behind Ada Lewis Middle School property there in East Germantown. Police did not find Kada Scott on their first visit, but in follow-up visits urged by tipsters, police kept looking. Kada Scott's decomposing body was eventually located in a shallow grave behind the old school. Investigators in court also showing evidence tying King's phone to a car that police say moved what they believed to be Kada's body. Now, family of Kada Scott did not want to speak to us today, but attorneys for the family had this message.
The Kada Scott family is continuing to grieve. In fact, their grief is unimaginable, but so is their commitment for finding and maintaining accountability for this. Today was the first day, the first step in accountability and getting justice for Kada Scott. We'll have further comment at a later time.
His case is currently in court still for the outcome, and I hope Keon King gets everything that he deserved. This young lady didn't deserve the way to die the way she died. Until the next time, y'all, be safe, and remember, that's the mess of violence is real, man. For real. Y'all be good.